What was the conversation you had after the Super Bowl that you're willing to share?
You know, I mean, on the field, it was more just, hey, great job, happy for you, go celebrate with your teammates. Because I knew if we would have won, I would have right away wanted to, been like, hey, I would have been upset for him. You know what I mean? So I didn't want him to feel that way for me. So I wanted him to cherish that moment, be there with mom.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, I had the sad story out of that. So I think after a couple days, we sat down. I think it was just really happy for him in his career. Happy for a lot of people on the Chiefs. It was a weird situation when you're playing the coach who drafted you, your brother,
right.
all these people that you've, have had such an impact in your career personally.
Yeah.
And now you're playing them in the biggest game possible. So obviously really upset for our team. And it took me a couple days, quite honestly, to get mad. And, like my initial reaction was very mixed and in some ways confused. And about 2 days after it, you're really thinking about, if I would have done this, if this would have happened, if we would have done that.
Was the holding call part of the mad?
No, because there's nothing you can do about that.
Yeah.
I am upset at the things that I had control of.
Right.
I could have made an out call that on third down that would have solidified the protection and A.J. Brown's open, but instead we don't convert. We have to punt, and then they get a huge punt return and take a big lead in the fourth quarter. Those are the things that I think about, and I'm going to think about continually. And that's when you start to really set in of, man, I think at first you're a little bit in denial. Then you kind of go to this like, woe is me feeling. And then there's acceptance. The typical stages of grief play out.
Yes.
And, my brother told me before the season started, we were doing a whole event down at the shore. And he said, there's nothing that, losing a Super Bowl will make you want to win a Super Bowl that much more. And, I thought he was just saying it for the crowd, something that sounds good. Trav is known to do that. But no, he was, smack dab, dead on, going all that way, having the season we did and then losing it. It is such a crushing feeling. And next year's team, even though we're going to have Jalen Hurts back, we're going to have a lot of similar people back, have Nick Sirianni back, it's never going to be the same. It's always a little bit different.
Yes.
So for that team not to have that finality, it sucks. It does. And, still had a great year. We're very proud of the way we played, but there's nothing like having, I don't even wear my Super Bowl ring. I probably couldn't even tell you where it's at right now.
Come on.
No. I'd lose that thing left and right.
Your child's not using...
I take it to an event, it stays in my golf bag. I take it to a gala, and it stays in the glove compartment. And these things aren't they're obnoxious. They're not fun to wear. They hurt your fingers next to them because the diamonds are cutting in to your other fingers. It's not the ring is just a symbol and a level of finality and conciseness that you are the world champion. It's what it represents. It's not the actual thing itself or what it looks like. And for all those guys that were part of that team not to get one sucks. And so, yeah.
And that's part of the reason why you decided to come back.
I do think it played a factor. I don't think it should. I wish it didn't, but I do think that when you go that far and you get that close and it doesn't happen, I think your emotions and energy, I'm goosebumps right now, get going and you want to do that. It's close and the team is going to be good next year as long as everybody stays healthy. We're returning a lot of pieces on offense. So that all plays a factor. If it was a different situation, I don't know what the answer would be. I still think I would play.
Yeah.
I think the best advice anybody's given me playing, and he's given it to me in the last 4 years, and for some reason he has to keep reminding me of it, is Jeff Stoutland. And my wife has said a very similar thing.
That's your O-line coach.
My offensive line coach, Jeff Stoutland. He said, Jason, you just stop playing when you don't want to play anymore. Like when you wake up and you don't want to play football anymore, stop playing. I'm like, I don't think that's ever going to happen. Like, I don't think I'm going to wake up and there's going to be a day where I don't want to play football. He's like, no. He's like, let me tell you, there's going to be a day you wake up and you're not going to want to do it anymore.
Well, it's also, isn't it part of just the prep it takes for you to be ready to play it?
Yeah, I mean,
the mental and the physical, where it's just like, I just don't know if I want to do that.
And I think
today.
that's what he's saying. Like, really, the physical part, knock on wood, wherever
I
there
got
is.
I got you right here.
I mean, I'm in pretty good shape for a guy going into his 13th year. I got some knee pain, some ankle pain, this, that. But it's really what you're talking about, the mental grind, the level of attention that you have to have on a daily basis to do it right.
Yeah.
Because part of my job is, one, being prepared myself, also being, two, prepared to put everybody in the right position. Center, quarterback, middle linebacker, and safety are the 4 spots on the field where you get to actively make other players play better or influence how they play just by the calls you make, just by the communication that you do. And that all, to do that well, requires attention in the meeting rooms, requires film study, requires communication throughout the week. And all of that takes energy and effort. And all of that ultimately, on some levels, gets distracted from other areas of my life. And you have to really think whether you're willing to do that again. And I think when Stout says, Jeff Stoutland, my offensive line coach, when he says, you got to figure out if you want to do this again, that's what he's talking about. Are you willing to make that commitment again? And if you're not, and you don't want to make that commitment, and you don't want to play football like that, don't do it. And I was still in a position where I felt like for another year I wanted to do that. And I do think losing the Super Bowl does play a factor, but I think ultimately I still want to play football. I still love that aspect. I love going and game planning with Jalen Hurts and our offensive coordinator now, Brian Johnson, and I'm sure it's going to be a blast. Nick Sirianni, that's some of the most fun I have during the week is figuring out how we're going to attack these guys. What do you see? They play this technique to the weak side. They play this type of technique over the tight end. I think this plays here. They're a shell, 2 high safeties. They're 1 high safety, and they play aggressive downhill. All of these things you're trying to figure out, and that's part of the things that I still love doing.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.